How you doing, fight fans? EJ Boxing live here. So we're gonna listen to Chael Sonnen's take on Ronda Rousey being defeated by Holly Holm, and let's see what he has to say, man. Because it's very interesting, or it could be very controversial. And let's hear what the great one has to say.
Wow, what a weekend! What a weekend in the world of mixed martial arts. Ronda Rousey gets beaten by Holly Holm, and I will tell you, I did not see that coming.
No one did.
I really did not. The thing with
Except
Ronda
for me.
that separates her, and it's not a skill issue. It's never been a skill issue. That's a complete media creation.
Wow.
You'll always hear the media coming out. Ronda made all these fancy friends, and they would come out, talk about her skills. They don't know what they're looking at. You would never hear fighters talking about how great her skills were. It was always a separation with Ronda and the rest of the field, with her heart, with her grit, with her determination, and above everything else, with her ability to compete.
Well, I don't know about that. She comes very skillful to me. I mean, if you look at some of the armbars she gets her opponents, and is very skillful to that. And the one with Katsu Ngannou was very, very, very. That was pretty hard to do, to pull. I've never seen an armbar like that before. And also the one against what's it again? Her number one rival, Tate. She got armbar on her. It was very good. That was a backwards and forwards fight. So I don't know about that. Let's see what Chael has to say some more.
She's had a lifelong experience in setting a date, setting a time, setting an agreed upon weight class in a confined, prearranged set of rules and circumstances. She's dealt with the stresses, the pressures of that, walked out and competed with another person and found a way to get her hand raised. That's rare. That's a really rare thing, particularly for the women. Women are not given the same opportunities as men.
That's true.
And they haven't been historically. So even in the world of MMA, when did they get into the UFC? 2012-ish?
Yeah.
2011, somewhere right in there. So there's just not a whole lot of time to get a whole bunch of matches in, but Ronda was different.
Well, the UFC itself, started in like 92, 91, so that hasn't been along even that. So it's not even been like 90s and 2000s. It's not even been like 30 years, or just near enough 30, just around that time. So the UFC itself is not even that long anyway. But the media behind Ronda Rousey, they wanted her to succeed the way she was doing it, and the sport needed it. And Holly Holm was a very good opponent. And the UFC do a good job of bringing the best opponents from around the world. Remember, it's mixed martial art from around the world into the UFC for them to compete, and that's what happened. So let me hear what else Chael has to say.
Ronda was different coming up with that judo background. She was able to go out there and compete, and that's what separated her. That's what separated her from everybody else. The thing with Holly Holm is Holly also had a big competitive background.
Yes, sir.
She really did. So did Sarah McMahon.
Yeah.
Sarah McMahon did as well. There are exceptions to the rule, but even Holly hasn't had the ability to compete as many times as Ronda. You can't as a boxer. In wrestling and
well, she done kickboxing as well.
You can go out 5 or 6 matches in one day.
Okay.
And then the very next weekend go and do it all over again somewhere else. In boxing, it takes some time. You get one match in, then you've got to recover. You go back to the gym a couple of months later, you get another match in.
Yeah.
That's if you're lucky. That's if you're busy and active. So it is different. But I didn't see, and I don't think anyone else did, I didn't hear anybody actually say this on the record.
I did.
That Holly was going to be able to control the space. And that's what she did so well. On paper, she was a better striker. I didn't buy it.
I did. On my video, I broke down my prediction. I'm sorry if I keep interrupting fight fans. I know you hear what Chael has to say. But I did. I said that she can control the space. She has to control range. And so she can set up her attacks. And I said for Ronda to be successful, she has to get close. And so she can use her judo. I said that. I broke it down. But you're talking about on the MMA media. Yes, I agree with you. Apart from Rashad who said that. But everyone else, I did. So let me hear what Chael has to say some more.
Personally didn't buy it, and I had good reason to not buy it. She'd fought twice in the UFC. They were largely stand-up battles, and she wasn't dominant. She hasn't dominated anybody like she did Ronda Rousey.
Okay.
Ronda Rousey, in hindsight, was Holly Holm's easiest fight in MMA.
Listen to this, right? So this is the thing about some MMA people don't understand, about stand-up and boxing, or just in general. So Holly Holmes, in her last 2 opponents coming into Ronda Rousey, she didn't look that good. So, but the opponents wasn't that aggressive as Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey was extremely aggressive because of what she felt Holly Holmes was fake, and she was trying to knock her out, and she believed in her boxing skills. So she basically thought Holly Holmes wasn't even that good. So you're saying that she didn't look good, but the rest of the opponents had more respect for Holly than Ronda did. Ronda had no respect for Holly, and if all Holly's opponents were that aggressive as Ronda, they would have ended up the same. But they wasn't that aggressive, and therefore them fights ended up how they were, because they were more respectful of how Holly fought. Let me continue with Chael.
She had a really great night, and she took Ronda out of her element really, really fast. Now, a big weakness that Ronda has is closing the distance. In judo. Okay, now judo is historically very ineffective martial art. Judo does not have a history of success in any MMA organization in the world.
Okay.
Ronda was the exception, but it comes back to my original argument that with Ronda, you get the determination, you get the grit, and you have the ability of an athlete to go out and compete. That's what separates her. But with judo, if you just look at this physically,
I think Machida.
You just look at it physically. Judo must not only be locked up with their opponent upper body, but they must also get their hands locked.
Yeah.
For their techniques to then come into play.
Yeah.
For a wrestler wants somebody to throw a punch or kick at him. A wrestler walks out there and is just dying for that person to throw something at their head. They can change elevation, come underneath, and attack below the hips. In judo, they don't attack below the hips. They really come waist up, and that changes the posture. That changes your posture, which means in that split second where you've got to go from the open to the clinch, you're susceptible to being punched, and that's what happened to Ronda. She was punched. She was punched so hard.
It's a bit more.
He hit her so hard, and it changed the fight. You saw Ronda's face change. You saw her expression change. People were saying she looked tired and out of shape. What you were seeing there, guys, you were seeing an athlete that was now dealing with stress. If you add stress to an environment, you're going to create an exhaustion and a fatigue that you can't duplicate on its own.
Okay.
A person can go out and practice every day and spar 5 or 6 or 7 rounds. They can go run for 2 hours.
Yeah.
You add stress to that environment, and they're going to be exhausted 2 to 3 minutes in.
Well, she was definitely stressed because she couldn't get to do what she wanted to do, chasing after Holly and getting hit in the process. That was fatigue in itself. Another thing as well, yeah, she looked out of shape, because did she train for 5 minutes a round? I don't know. It's the reason why she looked the way she did is to do with her conditioning. You know, she blows up anyway, and to make the weight, she comes in stronger. I don't know if she trained, and she actually, you know what? To be honest with you, she probably trained longer, but she threw the kitchen sink at Holly, and then she had nothing left, so she spent her energy. So you're saying when she got punched in the face, she's been punched in the face before, but what happens in boxing and just in general, or any combat sport, is when someone attacks you, and if you throw a punch, it doubles the impact. That's why it got hurt so much, because she was trying to throw her own strikes, and it doubled the impact. Rather than if someone was to throw a punch and you were standing still, it wouldn't have so much effect, because at that point when someone's punching, your force are not coming towards it. That doubles the impact. This is why she got tired. But Chael's breaking it down pretty well. Let me hear him finish it off.
When Ronda got hit and she got hurt for the first time, when she felt the panic of not being able to close that distance, get to her upper body tie-ups, that panic, that adrenaline, that stress is what fatigued her. It wasn't that she was out of shape. That really changed the fight, and nobody saw that coming. Now, Holly, I will stand by my claims that I don't buy her boxing championships, but
what?
They were championships.
Are you crazy?
My resistance has always been, and it still is, this isn't going to change. Championship.
She was a world.
The architecture in boxing and the organization of boxing is terrible and disgusting, and I refute it.
So well,
and they will hand out a world championship just as sure as they'll hand out a medal.
Yeah,
and a little side turn.
Yeah, the UFC.
Okay, in boxing,
all right,
is going to have a main event, and every main event they're going to.
Okay. So you're trying to put down the boxing medals, boxing belts, but then the UFC belts are credible. They give belts as well. In fact, Ronda got that belt. She didn't have to fight for it. They gave her that belt. So don't talk rubbish here. It's the same thing. We have an interim UFC champion, interim boxing champion. What are you talking about? That's the reason why you didn't pick her. You discredited her championships. You discredit what she's actually accomplished. Those in the know that she's very accomplished. She was Cecilia Braekhus is number 1 pound woman boxer, right? Number 1. Now, she was supposed to fight Holly Holmes, and they were supposed to fight. They were the very best in the sport, pound for pound. In boxing, in women's boxing, she was the best pound for pound. And then she realized at that point she wanted to enter into MMA, and this is what's happened. She took her time. That's why you see Chael discrediting her. That's why she was able to it's such a big shock. But that's because you guys, and Chael's media, that they don't know. They don't know. They discrediting boxing, discrediting some of their accomplishments. I mean, he's talking about wrestling, so a wrestling trophy is more credible than a boxing thing. Come on, now, no one should be doing that. You shouldn't be discrediting no athlete on their accomplishments. Anyway, let him finish it off.
To crown the person a world champion. That's what I resent. The other side of that is they're still championships. They're championships of some sort. Whether it's a club championship, a local city championship, a Golden Gloves championship, it should have been called something other than a world championship. But the bottom line is Holly won them. Same thing goes in MMA. When she got put into this spot as the number 7 ranked fighter in the weight class, so many people resisted and said, well, she's only had 2 fights and she didn't look great. Well, that's true. She did only have 2 fights in the UFC, and she did not look great. But she won them. She won them. There is...
Okay, so Brock Lesnar had 2 fights and he had a shot at Randy Couture. What are we talking about right here? Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, Ronda had no other opponents. She beat everyone in the division. Holly Holm was the only person left, and then Ronda was going to go on a holiday. You stop discrediting. He's discrediting Holly's accomplishments, and Ronda, in terms of Ronda's picking, there was no one left in the division. When she came in at number 7, that's low. Ronda just wiped out the whole top 10. So, and the division's not that strong in terms of, like, it hasn't been around that long. So I don't know what you're talking about. Brock Lesnar had a shot after two fights against Randy Couture. Or probably 3 fights actually, because he beat what's his name again? The other guy beat Brock Lesnar on his first TV thing. You know what I'm talking about. The guy, what's his name again? It's not Ken. It will come to me. But anyway, he had three fights, and he had a shot at Randy Couture, and then he became the champion. Well, what are you talking about here? Anyway, let me hear him finish.
One constant theme with Holly Holm, and that is she gets her hand raised. She also knows how to compete. Ronda is not going to do great in a rematch. I believe that there is going to be one. I think that's just what you do. Historically, that's what happens, and you will do mega business on that night.
That's one thing I agree on.
The recipe for this that has been followed from the beginning of time in combat, whether it's UFC or boxing, it starts with a lie. Okay, the first ingredient in the recipe of a rematch starts with a lie. Somebody from the camp leaks, or Ronda herself tweets a lie. My shoulder was hurt.
Oh.
My ankle was hurt.
She's not saying it, though.
I had food poisoning.
No one's saying that.
Some kind of a lie surfaces, and then the media runs with it.
Okay.
They make the big excuse. Another good one is, I lost focus, I was busy, I was doing media, but now I'm really buckled down.
That's
another common one, fire your whole camp, start over with a new team. You have to build some kind of a storyline like this. Now, none of them are true.
Well, you know what? Everything he said there, that's what's happening. Rumors surfaced that she's got rid of her coach, Edmund. I don't know if that's true. Obviously, it's rumors. And yes, the media's coming out. She had media obligations. That's another thing true. And yeah, like some sort of injury, that hasn't come out. And the reason we mentioned that, remember Manny Pacquiao and Floyd, when Manny said, oh yeah, his shoulder wasn't hurt. His shoulder was 100%. He had to have surgery and all that stuff. So, Chael understands all these excuses. But the bottom line is the better person. Why can't we just give credit to the better person? And he's definitely right about the rematch. In the rematch, the same thing will happen. Let me hear him finish off.
None of them ever equate. A person that gets beat that bad never comes back and flips the script. But usually, in fighting where there's a huge upset like this, one athlete is out there and dominating, and they get hit with some big punch and it ends their night and stops their reign, or some combination land and it stops their reign. That's not what happened. Holly Holm absolutely dominated her from start to finish. It was not even competitive.
Yeah, that's right.
I hope as a sports fan for the first time in combat history that when Ronda does speak, she's the first one to ever tell the truth, which is not my ankle, my shoulder, my food, none of that.
Yeah, I agree.
I hope as a sportsman for the first time ever she comes out and says, Holly Holm's a better fighter. That's why I lost.
Yeah.
I lost because I fought a better fighter.
Yep.
Shuts up, lays out, makes her next move. Whether that's a rematch or go to the... I don't know. The one thing about Ronda, and this was created by the media. The media created this phenomenon.
Wow.
But the one thing about her and everybody else that's ever become a legend or an icon or a myth in this little small space of combat that's supposed to be this figurative, unstoppable ass kicker, they all have one thing in common, and that is Los Angeles, California.
Oh, okay.
They all live in the media mecca of the world. I can go back.
Oh.
Bruce Lee, who was a complete wimp.
What?
Never beat up anybody in real life.
What?
But he will forever be remembered as one of the baddest dudes to exist.
A wimp.
Seagal. Couldn't fight himself out of a wet paper bag. Came from Los Angeles, got that media behind him. Judo Gene LaBelle.
He's funny.
One of the baddest dudes in the world. Gene LaBelle, in his prime, could not make the varsity wrestling team at my local high school. That's just a reality.
Wow. Wow.
He grabbed producers and TV guys and future actors. He'd take them
funny,
to the
man.
backyard and he'd rough these guys up. The only difference was they were bigger wimps than he was.
Okay.
So the legend got to grow and the legend got to continue.
Okay.
And Ronda had a lot of that too.
Mm-hmm.
She really did. You know, you were having the stars and celebrities that were fight fans come out and they lay the gush on her. They didn't know what they were talking about. They didn't have the foggiest idea. The one thing you didn't see a lot of, as it pertained to Ronda, is you didn't have a lot of fellow fighters coming out and saying, man, that's the skill set I want.
Wow. It's true.
There's something unique going on there. You didn't have a lot of that, but you did have fight. I'm one of them that said, now there's something special there. There's something gritty. There's something raw. Great ability to compete. And things become so clear after you see them. You know, John Jones came out and said that Holly is the greatest of all time.
Yes.
Well, he's right.
Well, he is.
He is right. And his argument was real simple. She won the boxing championships, and now she's won the MMA championships.
Yep.
And above everything else, she's never been beat.
Nope. Well, she's been beating boxing.
You can't get around that. You can't get around somebody's undefeated record.
In boxing, she's been beat. She's been beating boxing.
You just can't. And when you repackage this and you send it back out, I think I know some girls that can beat Holly Holm. I think Miesha Tate gives her big problems. I think Cyborg gives her big problems.
Come on.
She was ranked number 7 in the world going into this fight Saturday night, and nobody disagreed with that ranking.
Yeah.
Everybody looked at it and goes,
Cyborg will be good.
Right?
Cyborg will be good.
5 or 6 girls that can beat her. I still personally think that. I'd have to see it now. Things have changed. Everything's changed now.
Yep.
Right? She showed us something. She showed us how wrong we were.
Yeah.
Showed us something that we didn't know. But I do think there's some gals out there that can beat her. I don't think those gals can beat Ronda.
Really?
So I think Ronda's best path to get that title back is to let the dust lie, let it settle a little bit, let Holly go out there with a couple of these other girls and lose her belt to one of them. Every now and then there are matchup problems.
Yeah, that's true.
For Ronda, if she can't get her hands on Holly, she's got a problem. Judo is not a very effective martial art. That's a reality. Be as mad as that as you want. Show me in history where judo's ever succeeded in a fist fight. Outside of Ronda Rousey, it just hasn't happened. The other big problem is the one time they did lock up, Holly picked her up and dropped her on her back.
Yeah, she did.
That's a problem.
Yeah, she did.
If this fight had happened and Ronda had some dominant moments and some dominant positions, you can make a case where you go and look back and go, okay, well, she just needs to spend more time in those positions. She needs to get her down and work more of that great ground and pound.
There's no positive things.
It just wasn't the case.
No, it wasn't. There's nothing.
It just simply wasn't the case.
It's nothing, no good thing. She got dominated everywhere.
I think we really learned a lot there. And I don't know what's going to happen. I know they are going to rematch. History says they rematch. That's just what they do.
It's going to be huge.
They go out and they re-put these fights. But I think it's a hard sell. I know it will sell.
Yeah,
it will. It will do crazy numbers. I just think that believing believing that there's going to be a different outcome is tough to sell. I remember when Anderson went through this with Chris Weidman.
Yeah.
So many people chalked Anderson's first loss up to him playing around, or him not taking the fight seriously.
It did look that way.
That's just not what happened.
Nah.
Weidman beat him. It was a 7.5-minute fight, and Weidman kicked his ass for 7.5 minutes.
Wow.
The final punch did have a little bit of luck to it. It was kind of a weird back fist, and Anderson did have his hands down, was in bad position. That's true.
He's messing around, he wasn't.
But that doesn't mean you can discredit the previous 7 minutes and 29 seconds. It was a beating.
I don't know.
Absolute beating. And in the rematch, Anderson went off as the favorite. People still couldn't accept it.
No.
They just couldn't accept what they saw, and he went off as a favorite.
Yeah, well.
Sports don't change that quickly, guys. For Ronda to close the gap between her and Holly, and there's a big gap.
Okay.
Boy, was there ever a gap.
Yeah.
For her to close that gap will take a couple of years. It would take years of training and planning and discipline
She ain't
and
got it.
skill building and going out there and practicing the new things she's learned in live competitions, meaning fighting other girls, and then down the road, getting a rematch with Holly.
Possible.
The reality for Holly is I don't think that's as good as Holly can fight. Even though I've never seen her look so good, even though her previous appearances in the octagon, she didn't look that crisp.
You haven't seen nothing, mate.
She still went in there with self-doubt. She still went in there with all sorts of stresses.
That's how she is.
And subconsciously, if not consciously, believing she was going to lose that fight.
No, she didn't. No, she didn't.
People get lost on that with athletes all the time. They think that athletes have some supernatural ability to not feel natural human emotions of fear and of anxiety.
Well, that's really true.
You know, that somehow Holly wasn't hearing that everybody in the world was picking against her and she was the biggest underdog that Las Vegas had ever booked in title fight history.
Nah.
Of course she knew those things.
Yeah, well.
Sure she did.
Yep.
And sure they slowed her down. And she won't have that disadvantage next time. She will have a new confidence. Confidence is overrated in sport. Athletes come out and say that, but we're lying to you. We're lying to you all about confidence, and you must believe, and no, you don't. You don't have to do any of those things. All you have to do is punch the other person more times than they punch you. That's the only thing you have to do. People love to talk about the mental side of sport because it sells books, and athletes use that as a way to separate ourselves from the rest of society, as somehow we've got some innate ability, some superhuman strength to overcome with thought and the power of mind. Look, nobody's ever scored a touchdown because they thought about it.
Wow.
They grabbed that damn ball and they ran it across the line. Nobody's ever got points put up on a board in a basketball game because they thought about hitting a three-pointer. They had to grab that ball, jump in the air, and get it into the hoop. Those are physical actions. You put your shoes on and you move your feet. That's how you go run a 5K. You don't just think about it and think that you confidently can do it.
Yeah, you have to do it. I agree.
We spend so much time as athletes convincing the world that this is mental. The reality is it's physical.
Yeah.
And athletes aren't different, and Holly's not different. Holly didn't have some ability mentally to overcome everything. Physically, she went out there and realized if I run my fist into her face more times than she runs hers into mine, I'm going to win this match.
Well.
That's what happened. And that gap is huge. And you can't close those gaps in a short period of time. The shortest amount of time Ronda's going to have is 3 months, and the longest amount of time she's going to have is 6.
Yeah, maybe.
And it's just not enough time.
No.
It's just simply not enough time.
No, it's not.
I'm in a good mood. I feel great. And I'll tell you one of the reasons, guys. I got a great night's sleep. I was on my Casper mattress.
All right. So that's enough of that of Chael. Chael over there is over going to get into sponsors and that. I'm going to leave the link in the description for the full podcast so you haven't got me interrupted and I'm going backwards and forwards. So the article is Chael Sonnen Ronda Rousey was a media creation. So he's obviously elaborating on what he feels about that, and he's trying to say people in that area, they get blown up out of proportion. Bruce Lee a coward and all them. I don't know about that. All them stuff there. But people want to believe in these sort of things. People want to believe in Ronda. I don't know, man. I don't know about Chael. Some of the stuff he says, I disagree. I don't think Holly was going out there to knock Ronda. I think Ronda was going out to knock her, and that's why she got knocked out. If she didn't try to knock Holly Holmes out, then that fight would have probably went longer than it did. She had disrespect, and that's what happened, I feel, in that fight. Anyways, man, what do you guys think of what Chael said? What do you think about my take in there? I know I was interrupting a bit every now and again, but that's just me, obviously. Yeah, so it was a good podcast. So what Chael had to say and what I had to say. So leave your comments in the comment section. I'm EJ Boxing Live, and I'll catch you on another one. Peace.
EJ Boxing Live here. EJ Boxing Live here.
Buster Douglas knocked him out. Buster Douglas, the fat bump, the legend.
Yo, this is Chris Caban chilling with my man EJ Boxing Live, one of the hottest, dopest boxing channels on YouTube. Check him out.
The boxing beat some rounds on the EJ Live YouTube channel.
And Thea was the number 10 rating contender, and he had never been knocked down. And Sonny destroyed his mouth. But Thea lost most of his teeth, basically with 1 or 2 left hooks.
Oh shit, boy! What was look at kids sleeping like Manny Pacquiao? EJ Boxing Live here. EJ Boxing Live here.